Happy Christmas!
Year 2020. Practically everyone felt its influence in one way or another. Gaming industry was not an exception to this rule. Countless delays of the most anticipated game, which is Cyberpunk, disappointing start of the new generation of gaming consoles, postponed production of sequels for existing games, Sony increasing prices for PS4 and PS5 games, Last of Us becoming the game of the year because so-called critics and paid reviewers said that this game is absolute best, and if you don't think the same, you are stupid and don't understand what great game and storytelling is. Thank God that at least players voted for Ghosts of Tsushima and Hades. Fortunately, not all hopes were lost. On September 17, 2020, an indie studio, Supergiant Games, releases its game called Hades. Greetings everyone, my name is Terlord, and today I am going to present you my subjective review of the game called Hades. In this video, I will do my best in order to explain why Hades is worth your time and money, as well as try to justify why I consider this game to be the best game of the year 2020. As Wiki says, this game is a roguelike, action RPG, hack and slash. Over the course of this year alone, the game was praised by both veterans of roguelikes and casual players. Review score shows number ranging between 8.5 to 9 on IGN, GameSpot, Metacritic, etc. On November 18, 2020, Hades was nominated in 8 categories for the Game Awards 2020, including Game of the Year. The game even won awards for Best Indie Game and Critics' Choice. But most importantly is that Supergiant Games showed how to create a great game with passion and true love for what they were doing. Before I'm going to touch the game itself, I would want to define what roguelike genre is, as it is going to be important in the future. Roguelike is a subgenre of role-playing video games, characterized by level randomization, permanent death, and turn-based movement. A fairly well-recognized genre in Japan, especially after the advent of handheld and smartphone gaming. It has until recently remained a fairly obscure genre in the Western mainstream market. Most Western roguelikes are made on a non-commercial basis and only feature ASC2 graphics, with newer games increasingly offering tile-based graphics. Games are typically dungeon crawls with many monsters, items, and environmental features. Computer roguelikes usually employ the majority of the keyboard to facilitate interaction with items and the environment. The name of the genre comes from 1980s game Rogue. As you can see, this type of genre isn't something that is going to suit everyone. Many other roguelikes are specifically designed to be as hard and unpredictable as possible in order to challenge players' skill, comprehension of in-game mechanics, knowledge of enemies and bosses' patterns, ability to change your playstyle depending on what player has to work with during each of his attempts. Hades does have some of those, if not all of the above-mentioned parameters, but utilizes and presents them to a player in a different way. This game specifically doesn't overwhelm you with explanations, notes, mechanics, brutal difficulty, and so on and so forth. Instead, it gradually guides you through what it has to offer and allows a player to manually increase difficulty via amazing tools such as Pact of Punishment. I personally do not consider myself to be a fan of roguelikes. Yes, I've played such games like Binding of Isaac, Dead Cells, Darkest Dungeon, Gauntlet. I like them, but not as much as Hades. When I think about what game in such genre can I recommend to someone who hasn't played roguelikes before, in 99% of the cases, it is going to be Hades. For those of you who have experience in roguelikes, what game would you recommend to someone who never played games of this kind? Please let me know in the comment section below. This game, in my opinion, can truly be described as roguelike for everyone, not just fans of such genre. It's easy to pick up and play due to how beginner-friendly it is, but boy is this game hard to stop playing. I've invested around 50 hours into this game, and I barely even scratched the surface of a gigantic pile of content and variety this game can provide a player with. It is literally insane how many activities you can have in this game. Despite the fact that Hades currently has only 4 missions, you will never get bored of playing them. Each time you die or succeed, in the end you are still going to be rewarded with even more content. On the surface, Hades, being a roguelike, has the same goal that the player has to achieve. Using whatever weapon the game gives to you and get to the top floor, defeat the final bad guy and get your ending. Rinse and repeat. Can you imagine how shocked I was when I saw how such a simple gameplay concept was handled by Supergiant Games? Let me explain you what I mean by that. In Hades you have 4 missions in total. Each mission is divided into segments. Rooms where you either beat a bunch of enemies in order to collect your reward and progress into the next room, complete an event where you have to decide between which of the 2 gods' boons you are going to take and then survive the wrath of the one you have neglected. Compete with Thanatos and see who is going to slay more enemies. Visit Charon's shop, visit a special NPC, enter a Chaos Realm, succeed at Hades' trial, fight a mini-boss. At the end of the stage, you have to fight a boss in order to progress to the next level. In between stages, there is always going to be a room where you can buy, sell, and change item that is granted to you by other characters that you can find throughout the game. You can buy items using gold. This currency can be collected as a room reward, or by killing enemies, or by breaking jars, or by selling something you don't want. Each enemy, mini-boss, main boss that you are going to face is going to be unique and memorable. You aren't going to confuse one enemy with another. Because of that feature, you will be able to memorize most of the enemy's patterns and skills quite efficiently. Your first escape starts with a small cutscene, after which you are thrown right into the first stage, such as Tartarus. No one is guiding you, no one tells you what your buttons do and what your goal is. If it sounds brutal to you, don't worry. Hades is a game for everyone. Control scheme is pretty straightforward. You got your regular attack, dash move, dash attack that is performed by using dash and attack at the same time, weapon skill, cast skill that sends a red crystal to your enemy. Way later in the game, you're going to have a weapon reload button, as well as an ultimate ability called Call Effect. You will also get to summon a companion that will temporarily do something for you in combat. As you try to figure this stuff out and progress through some enemy encounters, you are greeted with boons from ancient Greek gods who are trying to help you. Various upgrades for your attacks, skills, cast, supportive perks, etc. Again, even more questions with no answer yet. Those boons are very important, as they are going to play an enormous role when it comes down to builds, strategies, etc. After even more battles, you notice that you are going to die, and that's exactly what will happen to you at some point of your first journey. However, that in this game is not something that you should be upset about. Each death sends you to the main hub area, House of Hades, where you will be spending a lot of time in, doing all sorts of activities. Talking to locals, playing with Cerberus, arguing with Hades. Exploring, upgrading your main character via Mirror of Fates. Making everyone drunk in order to raise that Confidant status. Exchanging fish for currency. buying decoration for the house, as well as stuff such as treasure chest, healing fountains that can be found while going through stages of the game, unlocking bits of main and side story, talking and beating the good old Skelly in attempts to find out what your weapon can do, changing weapons and their aspects. There are 6 weapons in total, and each weapon has 4 different aspects. Talk about possibilities. Using Pact of Punishment to modify game's difficulty in order to make your experience with the game refreshing, as well as getting even more rewards. Gotta love those hidden Skelly rewards. And many more things. Of course, you won't have all of those options right after the first time you visit House of Hades, as it would be way too overwhelming. But remember that Hades is a roguelike for everyone, and with each step, be it a success or failure, you'll be gradually rewarded with something new. Something that will keep you want to play over and over and over again. In my opinion, this is a fantastic way to engage someone into the game. Bit by bit, step by step, letting player get accustomed to all of those mechanics, characters, and possibilities. Hades is not just all about constant battles in an endless cycle. This is a game that has one hell of a story to tell. So you play as Zagreus, son of Hades, who has to escape hell and get him to the Olympus. On his journey, he meets a lot of various characters from ancient Greek mythology. Olympians, representatives of Chthonic realm, gods of the underworld, etc. As the game goes on, player starts to understand that the main story is far more complex than it seems at the beginning. From my view, one of the strongest points about Hades is storytelling. Each and every single character, starting from Skelly, the target dummy, all the way up to Hades himself, have a unique and interesting story that they can tell you. There is no black and white or good and evil cliché that we are used to see and hear. You get to see dynamical changes in characters and their attitude, except Theseus, as the story goes on. Even the main bad guy is going to open up to you, allowing players to understand reasons behind his actions. Lore is not being dumped on you in vast amounts. Much like gameplay elements, you are unlocking it gradually. It's almost as if developers say to you the following: hey, take your time, you don't have to rush things. Let the slow flow of time that you spent in hell guide you through whatever we have to tell. Sort of the same approach was used by Atlas and their Persona 5. Completely different game genres, but the concept is still working perfectly. Dynamic and engaging action segments are paired up with even more entertaining and immersive story that is being spoken to you by a vast cast of characters. To me, this was like a breath of fresh air, as I deeply cared about pretty much all of the cast, except Theseus. He is a total jerk. In Hades, main story is something that unravels to a player over the course of countless hours invested in side activities. You can't really rush it. And, as a matter of fact, don't do it. It's pointless. Instead, try to build your relationship with those who surround your protagonist. Give them nectar, build up that meter, unlock their personal quests, and trust me, it will be absolutely worth it. Another amazing thing about storytelling of Hades lies within those side quests and those area-specific characters that you can meet during your escape attempts. Trying to figure out how to fix relationships between Orpheus and Eurydice, Achilles and Patroclus felt like I was doing something more than just another random side quest just for the sake of a material reward. You have to understand that in this game the world is alive and everything is changing depending on the time and effort you place into participating in those side activities. Storytelling would not be so immersive and amazing without well-written and memorable cast of characters. Luckily, Hades nailed this aspect perfectly. Almost every single NPC in this game has a soul. They aren't just some kind of doll that stands there aimlessly or moving back and forth, repeating the same line over and over again. Each time you visit and talk with those NPCs, you'll hear something new from them. Something that you never heard before. I personally was hands down amazed by how even after almost 50 hours into the game, I was still able to listen to a new piece of dialogue option when I'm speaking with every single character in this game. This factor allows you to sympathize with the characters, and it makes you want to know more about them. In order to deepen relationship with inhabitants of Hades, you have to gradually build up your bonds with them via giving those NPCs nectar. First time Zagreus gives nectars to someone, he is rewarded with an item that can be used and leveled up during your adventures. You can't just bombard people with nectar, as only one bottle can be given to one person at a time. Once again, game balances between social interactions and action, giving you opportunity and reason to gather those bottles of nectar as you venture to the surface and make some progress for the main story. As your relationship with characters grows stronger, they will going to have more dialogue options, quests, etc. Some characters will give you a companion item in exchange for a special drink called ambrosia. Summoning a companion can be used in battle, and you can level him using the already mentioned ambrosia. You can also romance with some characters. At the moment of me doing this review, Zagreus can engage in a romantic relationship with 3 characters, such as Meg, Anatas, and Dusa. Hopefully, this list is going to expand. I really wanted to romance with Artemis, goddess of hunting, because right from the start of me playing this game, I felt extremely attached to her. But I couldn't romance with this character, since there was no such option. What character from this game would you want to romance with? You can write their names in the comment section down below. Stage-specific characters are also worth your time and effort. Not only will you get some sort of currency, upgrade, or an item from them, but you'll also be able to discover their personal story. This alone made me think multiple times when deciding what door should I choose to go next. The one that has a boon from Olympian that I want, the one that has an HP upgrade, or the one with the stage-specific NPC. Speaking about what makes character alive in Hades, I should also mention humor. This is, on the first glance, small detail that may not seem that important, especially when you think about roguelike genre that's supposed to be filled with action and challenge. However, we have already established that this game is not just another one of those roguelike games. It does things differently. Both Zagreus and most of those characters and bosses with whom you meet have given me such a great time. I laughed, smiled, and felt just about right. A well-written humor is the one that hits the spot. And luckily, Supergiant Games understood that concept. Zagreus giving Bone Hydra a new name, and afterwards always referring to this boss by this new name. Deep and profound social interactions between main character and Charon, Theseus and his golden chariot with 2 chain guns, Skelly and his numerous joke, carefree Hypnos, who is always making a joke each time you die and have to start things from the beginning. It all just felt like a very pleasant ride to me, something that I will always remember with a warm smile. Hey, you probably get tired of me praising this game so much, but there's just one more thing that I have to discuss, which is audio. A game without a good audio just won't do. It's like a human with no soul. It exists, but something is missing there. Hades is an indie game, and yet they have done an absolutely gorgeous job when it comes down to voiceovers. Almost every single dialogue in this game has a voiceover done by what it felt like professional individuals, who were playing their given roles at their absolute best. For you to have a better understanding what I mean by that, I will put some samples of dialogue spoken by various different characters in various situations.
Somehow I always knew, that you were not my birth mother. I mean, look at Hypnos and Thanatos. There's no way that I could have been related to them. Everybody knew, and yet, when I finally learned for certain, it was still a shock.
Your name, it means great hunter, Zagreus. I guess your mother Nyx must have expected someday that you'd pick up a few pointers from myself.
Oh, hi. I'd ask you how it went, but since you're here again, I guess I know already, huh? Oh well, just come on in.
Cheers.
I was a fool, you see. The gods promised me eternal glory beyond death. I could have stayed out of the war, stayed home with Patroclus. I threw everything away, and sent so very many to this place.
Lastly, Dusa, you are not permitted to address the prince unless first spoken to. You are invisible to him. Now, are we understood?
Yes, Miss Nyx. We're understood. I mean, I understand. I'll be going then.
I must confess something to you, my friend. My mind still wanders to Eurydice quite often, and my memories of her, despite my best attempts to move along with my existence here. I would call it a fatal flaw, except I am already dead.
Thanatos, I ought to have asked by now, but what's it like? Up there, I mean, outside. You never talk about it. I almost forget that's where you go for work.
What can I say? It's different. I never stay up there for very long. Don't think I could. It starts making me feel ill. Too many sensations all at once. And when the chariot of Helios is in the sky, it gets so bright that I can barely see.
That sounds awful. If it's that bad, why would all the Olympians chat it up so much?
There's no accounting for their taste, I guess.
As you can see, this is something that you should be expecting from a AAA game, and definitely not something to be expected from an indie game, especially of such genre. They managed to raise the bar so high, and it's amazing. When it comes down to sound effects, I will divide them into two groups. General, such as opening the shop, picking up a boon or a reward, notification sounds, breaking jars, fishing sounds, etc. The second group is going to be combat sounds. Sounds that are produced by weapons, enemies, bosses, skills, etc. The first group is done in a very solid way, and you can understand pretty well what sound effect belongs to what action. The second group, unfortunately, is not as great in my opinion. In combat, both visuals and sound should help player react to what is about to happen to him. In Hades, you will rely mostly on visual indicators. Trying to figure out what your enemy or boss is doing based upon sound alone is just useless. More than half of the time, they will stay silent or make a noise split second before you are about to get hit. Exceptions are big blob guys in Mission 1, mages and witches, satyrs in Mission 4, laser casting statues, flame wheels, and some other enemies. Some of your weapon's basic attack sounds are noticeable quite well outside of combat, but you can barely hear them while you are in the combat. I don't really understand why. Some boons sound great, others, like Whirlwind Blades from Ares, are way too quiet and even boring in my opinion. Compare how Asteria's Whirlwind sounds to that skill and you will see the difference. Weapon skills, on the other hand, sound much better, and I don't have anything bad to say about them. Overall, the sound factor was the most controversial for me, and I wanted to explain the reasons why. To me personally, music of this game was refreshing, fitting, and impressive. Combat themes, Hades boss battle theme, end credits, music that was used in trials, etc. They were very well done. So thus far we discussed gameplay, story, characters, sounds, but what can I say about the graphical aspect of this game, as well as the art style? I'm the type of player who is not going to chase for the most up-to-date graphics. To me, this aspect is an addition that does have its values, such as it allows the game to stand out, it gives players something to look at, but you have to understand that not all games should have the same graphics as modern games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Cyberpunk 2077, God of War, Call of Duty, Last of Us 2, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, etc. You can make your game stand out using other methods, such as well-drawn cartoon style that fits especially well when we speak about Hades. We learn a lot about Greek mythology, both from tales, history, as well as cartoons. And when we see such art style in a game that has to do something with that particular time period, we don't run around ripping our eyes shouting, "This is outdated graphics, it should have looked like God of War or Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima." No, we don't do that. Art style and graphics of this game, in my humble opinion, is done amazingly well. Every stage that you will visit looks vastly different from one another. Backgrounds are alive and moving. Destructible environment is also present here. Character stands out, and you won't feel any need to second guess about who is that person and who is that person, who is this guy, who is that guy, who is this enemy, who is that enemy. Weapons and monsters are all unique in how they look visually. Very solid work in my personal opinion. One thing that I didn't get: why throughout my whole playthrough I was accompanied by this weird graphical glitch, or bug, or whatever it is, I don't know. Those strange lines of various colors appeared both in the menu and in other places. It wasn't something game-breaking, but it was sure noticeable. If someone knows what it is and how to fix it, please let me know in the comment section below. Now, this was a long review, and even though I've spoken and I've showcased a lot of things, this does not mean that I've mentioned everything that could be mentioned. My goal here was not to rip the game apart in attempts to describe every possible aspect. Instead, I wanted to show you what exactly makes this game worth your time and money, in case if you're still wondering about whether or not you should try it out or stay away from it. Sure, this game is not absolutely perfect. To be completely honest, if someone tells you that something is just flawless in every possible way and aspect, he is definitely mistaken. Hades has room for improvement in the form of following: adding extra stages. 4 is a good number, but something like 5 or 6 would not hurt. More branching paths that would lead Zagreus into some secret stages, giving players more options when it comes to romancing with other NPCs, working a bit on auto-aim mechanics for those who are playing this game using a controller. Like myself, I've played this game with a controller, not with a keyboard and mouse. More mini-games besides fishing, improving combat sound effects, etc. But despite all that, I still consider that Hades is a fantastic roguelike game that is worth playing no matter if you are a casual gamer, a hardcore player, a roguelike fan, or a person who never played this sort of genre of games. This is indeed a game that for me personally is the true game of the year of the 2020. It's been quite a long time since I had so much fun playing something so small, but so vast and profound at the same time. I wish Supergiant Games will keep up the pace and achieve even more success in the future. You guys did an amazing job, and I'm very proud of you, both as a gamer and as a person who is doing this particular review. And I truly hope that other game developers will learn that if you are doing something, you should do it with your heart and soul. Then, and only then, you'll be able to achieve something good, and your end result will be remembered in a good way, and for a long time. Thanks everyone for watching this video. Don't forget to give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to our YouTube channel, ring that bell to stay notified about new videos that we are going to make in the future. You can also consider supporting us either with Streamlabs donation or by using Patreon. By doing so, you will increase the quality and the speed release of similar videos in the future. As a form of conclusion to this video and as a form of concluding this year 2020, I want to say the following words. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all have a great holiday season. Let year 2021 bring you only positive emotions. whatever stuff that you have in your heads and you want to wish, so that year 2021 would bring it to you. Let all those wishes come true in that year. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may your relatives, your friends, your loved ones, may them all find peace. I wish you all have a great time. Thank you for watching this episode. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being kind, honest. We'll be seeing with each other next time, in the next video, in the next year. Thank you everyone for watching. From me to you, have a great holidays. Take care, guys.